Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs here on Golf Channel. You can, of course, listen. That is PGA Tour Radio's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. Somebody from that channel will be on this program a little bit later on this morning. That could be quite interesting. We've got a lot to get to on this Wednesday. It is our getaway day. I am Gary Williams. This program is always, of course, brought to you by Century Insurance. If you have business insurance needs, they are your answer. They are right by you. They also make great choices when it comes to the game of golf. Their relationship, the way they support the United States Golf Association and the First Tee. Golf Pride, one of our 3 North Carolina-based companies that we are very proud to be partnered with when it comes to grips. All their materials, all their product line through the bag, including that reverse taper putter grip series, the very best. Peter Millar, of course, they refined performance, luxury, and style in apparel better than anybody for more than 2 decades. They will celebrate their 25th anniversary next year. And forget 25, how about more than 100? That is Pinehurst. That is the cradle of American golf. I know the U.S. kids are there right now. My old colleague and good friend Lauren Thompson is there. They got kids from all over the world. And it's not just the kids, it's kids of all ages. That's why Pinehurst is why everybody goes there to play golf, not to mention all the things available to you off of the golf course. All right, as I mentioned, lots to get to here. Ian Baker-Finch going to join here in less than 15 minutes. This weekend will be his final broadcast with CBS, 30 years on the broadcast side of things after having a very, very fine professional playing career, including winning that Open Championship in 1991. Looking forward to that conversation. As I mentioned, somebody from Sirius XM. We are very lucky to be able to have not only TV here on Golf Channel, but also you can listen on PGA Tour Radio. And the lead producer for the show that precedes us, the starter with Taylor Zarzour, Billy Dowling, he slept in his car last night at Bethpage Black. He's not the only one. We believe he's got a tee time this morning to play the Black Course, host site of the Ryder Cup in about 7 weeks' time. Well, we will check in with him as he gets ready after sleeping in his car to play one of the most demanding golf courses in the world. But I started my morning looking a little bit at some social media, and I saw a photograph of some friends. And they are working this week, but before they begin their production work for Golf Channel and NBC, that on the left, far left, that is Ben Dawn, an excellent player, played collegiate golf at Rollins College. Jennifer Kupcho, a very fine player in the LPGA. Tom Abbott, of course, associated with his voice and face, covering women's golf for years and years and years. Glenn Stefanski, also a great producer of live golf. Those guys played in the Pro-Am today at Royal Porthcawl, and I'm thinking, what a great day for those guys. They're going to work this week, but to have a chance to play one of the truly great links anywhere in the world, and they had a spectacular day. They got the one. There's about 3 every year, apparently, in Wales, and that golf course, you can experience every possible thing over the course of 1 round in about 4.5 hours there, but that event will start tomorrow. And Jennifer Kupcho is a very, very fine player and has had an excellent career thus far. And she was launched into the public consciousness when she won the inaugural Augusta National Women's Amateur, which gets me to my runway. And eventually, as you know, I'll land the plane. Sometimes I do. Most of the times I do when it comes to kind of my thoughts to begin this program. And Lottie Woad also won the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Lottie Woad begins this week as the most talked about player, not only I think in women's golf, really in all of elite golf right now, because the best players on the men's side, probably not necessarily in the field this week at the Wyndham, which we will get to as well before we're done. But Lottie Woad represents something that if you look through time, and I mean all time, the greatest players in the history of the game on the men's side and on the women's side were prodigies. And prodigy, in terms of how you define it, most of these players who get to this level were prodigies to varying degrees. Think about the best athletes that you grew up around. Everybody has somebody from their hometown, whether you grew up in a major metropolitan area or a little bedroom community like I did in northern New Jersey, a town of 30,000 people. And for me, it There was a guy named Tim Mullen who went on to play at the University of Virginia college basketball on the #1 team in the nation with Ralph Sampson. I looked at him when I was 12 years old and he was 17 years old, like he was a true rock star. And he hit his ceiling. And yes, to a degree, he was a prodigy. But golf, historically, if you look at the players who eventually had the greatest careers, with some exceptions, like a Ben Hogan, who was a late bloomer, and there were a few others. I think Lee Trevino was a savant, and just because his life was what it was at an early age, maybe he wasn't in a position to show what a prodigy he was. It didn't take long, and he blew up in 1968, winning that U.S. Open at Oak Hill over Jack Nicklaus, and then did it again in 1971. So his route was a little bit different. Jack, prodigy. Most certainly. He did things at such a tender age it was unimaginable. Tiger, too. But in this country, the first prodigy in the game of golf was Robert Tyre Jones Jr., Bobby Jones. And in 1916, he went to Marion and made his national debut at the United States Amateur. He was 14 years old. And 14 years later, when he was 28 years of age, he went back there to complete the career Grand Slam and his career. He was done at 28 because his life had become so unusual in terms of how big of a star he was that this photo that we're going to show you now represents to me not only how big a star Bobby Jones was, because that is 1929, height of power. There's a guy that is crouching behind him with a stogie hanging out of his mouth. That guy, Babe Ruth. When Babe Ruth in 1929, who's in the midst of a season for the Yankees where he would hit 46 home runs, drive in 154 runs and bat .345, and at the time he was the greatest sporting star in this country. But what was he doing on a summer day in Westchester County, New York? He was watching greatness. He was watching somebody else doing things at a time where, whether it was Jack Dempsey or Red Grange or even Man of War, who was already retired as the greatest thoroughbred of that particular time period, Bobby Jones was golf's first prodigy. And Bobby Jones, it's hard to decide whether he did or didn't skip steps. He really didn't. And that gets to the other point about Lottie Woad as she begins her ascent in the game. And she's ascending very, very rapidly. With few exceptions, not only were the greatest players true, legitimate, precocious prodigies, they also didn't skip steps. For all that Jack Nicklaus did at a very, very young age, he also he took his time and he did the thing that all of the greatest players, because at the end, what they've done more than anybody else is the thing that is the most elusive thing to do. Win. Win at every level. Don't skip steps. Because if you look specifically on the women's side of the game, there have been players that have gone on to have very fine careers, borderline Hall of Fame careers, like Lexi Thompson. And there is somebody who is already in the LPGA Hall of Fame because it's a quantitative metric-driven thing, and that is Lydia Ko. She was a prodigy and precocious, and she's not even 30, and she's already done things in the game that few have. Michelle Wie was somebody who had ability that was so jaw-dropping that she was trying to compete in elite men's competitions when she was a teenager. And I personally think that that pursuit distracted her I think in time, deprived her of accomplishing other things, not only along the way, but ultimately the things that mattered most, which was winning the most important events more than anybody. Yes, she won that U.S. Women's Open in 2014 at Pinehurst, and that was her apex. Tiger didn't skip steps. No, he did not. He did all the things that you need to do at the junior level, and then he went to what was the elite amateur level, and he did everything more than anybody. And then he even played some college golf. And then he turned pro and said, "Hello, world." And along the way, he was refining the most elusive skill that is that in golf. winning, because winning just doesn't happen very much. If you're the very best 1 out of 10 times, you get hardware. Jack and Tiger, and even to a lesser degree, but still significantly, Rory McIlroy, who didn't play college golf, and that was the other part about the European path. Seve was a prodigy, and he announced himself in 1976. Sergio, same thing, at a U.S. Amateur, and then at a Ryder Cup in 1999 at 19. Lottie Wood has taken a path that allows her to have a ton of runway, but also behind her, she already has a ton of hardware. She could be the lethal weapon that women's golf has been looking at, and to take nothing away from all these other wonderful players over the last decade, we could be looking at something that should not necessarily surprise you. All right, we're going to take a break. When we continue, Ian Baker-Finch, he has been kind of in front of us for more than 3 decades calling golf, but before that, having a wonderful career. The TV side of things is going to end this week. My thoughts on him, with him, and specifically, why has he never broken up with golf? Golf didn't love him back for a while, but he never stopped loving the game. He's next, and Billy Dowling, the producer of The Starter, who's been sleeping in a car overnight to play Bethpage Black. He will join me as well. We got dogs, we got picks, we got standings. Those standings are ugly. We do all of it on a Wednesday here on 5 Club's Golf Channel and the aforementioned SiriusXM's Channel 92 PGA Tour Radio. Back with Ian Baker-Finch right after this. Back in on this Wednesday here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. Of course, you can listen. That is Channel 92, SiriusXM's PGA Tour Radio. In this segment brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. They have more to offer you on course and off than anywhere. Go to Pinehurst Resort and find out for yourself. All right, joining me now, he loves it as much as anybody, which is why this week will be emotional for sure for him and for the entire CBS broadcast team, because he's been doing it for 30 years. And before that, he was at the top of the men's game, the champion golfer of the year in 1991. I'm speaking, of course, of Ian Baker-Finch. My friend, good morning. How you doing?
I'm very well. Thanks very much, Gary. Thanks for having me on. I hope you're doing well as well on this beautiful morning.
I am. And, you know, I love people who love it. And here's the thing about people who do what you've done. Not only did you play at the highest level, like I just alluded to, but you broadcast for decades at the highest level. And I've always believed the best, they not only have to know it, they have to love it. You love it. You never broke up with golf. Why has your affection for this game always been uninterrupted?
It's a really great question, and one that I struggle to answer, in that I just have always loved it. I started out, I used to drive down from my farm, Mum and Dad's farm, on the back of his tractor in my young years, 6, 7, 8 years of age, 9 years of age maybe. My dad and a few farmers in the area in Queensland, Australia, built a golf course, a rural golf course. We used the Returned Servicemen's League's club as the clubhouse for a couple of years until we built our own. The land was donated from the forestry department, and all the farmers brought their machinery in, and we built this little golf course. So I had a lot of fun doing that, and I think from then on I caddied for Dad, learnt to swing, got a set of clubs when I was 12, and I've just always wanted to be in the game. I did my apprenticeship to be an assistant professional, to be a club pro back when I was 15 to 18, and became a decent player and decided to do that instead. But I just always wanted to be in golf, and even through the bad times, would go play on the weekends after I'd missed a cut. So, yeah, it's in my blood, I guess.
You know, athletic mortality, you love sports, and you know that, you know, look, golfers get to play potentially for a lifetime, but there is an ending. And when your career playing came to an end, did you have trepidation? Did you have fear, anxiety about, like, what am I going to do now, before you figured it out in terms of what you were going to do? Did you have that period of anxiety?
Yeah, I would say for a couple of years I was obviously anxious about my game. I couldn't figure out why it was happening. Obviously, it became a mental issue at the very end, where I would talk myself into hitting a shot out of bounds whenever I saw white stakes down the left. It became a frustration. Once again, I would still go play golf with my buddies. It wasn't the game, it was more me. And then when I decided to step away from the game, I had injuries I needed to fix. And it was sort of a 6-month process, maybe even a year process, as it turned out. And I did the television back home while I was convalescing and doing my rehabbing, etc. And sort of fell in love with the TV side of things and was quite competent, I gather, because they kept hiring me anyway. And, you know, that was really my fallback. If I couldn't come back to play, which I proved I couldn't, I did the television. And I've turned it into another career, and one that I've really, truly loved, and forged many great relationships and friendships.
Ian, last weekend on the 3M broadcast, when they had you in there with Jim and Trevor, you talked about Jack Graham and his role in you making that transition full-time to television. Were you good with people who were giving you feedback? Were you okay with constructive criticism or analysis about your work?
I was always good for it. In fact, I craved it. I wanted more. And it's not, we don't get a lot of feedback. We get, yeah, well done, good job, you know, see you next weekend. We don't get a lot of feedback. But the best feedback I ever had was when I first started doing this. And I was very new, raw. I was a golf professional. I was thrown into the lead analyst role at 4 different networks back home in Australia, 4 different producers, directors, crew, analysts, anchors. It was a whole new. Every couple of weeks was someone new. The best people that gave me feedback were the stage managers and the cameramen. And they would say, treat the camera like it's your best friend, your wife, your mother, just someone you love. Treat the camera as someone you love. And imagine you're sitting on the couch with your friends talking golf. And that was the best advice I ever got. Relax, be yourself, treat the camera as someone you love, and invite the people listening. You've been invited into their home. You're sitting on the couch with them talking golf. So that was the best advice, and I got that in the first 2 or 3 months of me doing this.
Let me take you back to some particular moments. The 2013 Masters, and particularly that final day. Look, you're in a very interesting position, but because of Adam and his status in the game and where he's from, and that's home. And I remember, and I watched it again last night, and just, you can hear your emotion and all of it. What do you remember, Ian, specifically about that last 90 minutes and about you managing, you know, your focus on your job, but also coupling that with what you were watching?
Yeah, that was extremely difficult because Australia is a very proud sporting nation, and we had struggled for over 70 years to produce a Masters champion. Greg Norman had many opportunities, Craig Parry, myself, Steve Elkington. In later times, obviously, you know, Jeff Ogilvy, Stuart Appleby, Jason Day, so many players had an opportunity to win and just couldn't get it done. I think David Graham in the early days, Scotty beforehand, so many. Anyway, no one had done it. And Adam did it. And I was very emotional. I was crying. I actually sat down. I was in the tower at 11 and 12 back in those days. After that year, I went up to 17. And I was down on the tower by myself. And it was raining and it was dark. And I hadn't been on the show for, as you said, 90 minutes since they went through Amen Corner. And Jim had called me in on the 18th hole, and then he called me in again at the end. And it was really hard for me to get anything out at all. I'm pretty emotional, but whenever the Aussie boys were doing well, I was really right there for them. And, you know, that from down under to on top of the world, Jim, that's all I could get out, really. I was crying as much as his dad, Phil, was, and as much as Adam and Stevie were.
2019 Masters, it's an unusual circumstance. They're going off in threes and split tees, something that we had never seen at Augusta National. Your call on 17 with Tiger, he makes the birdie on 16. He hits a BB, and he said afterwards that shot was as important as any. Ian, what you said when he walked off that green, I thought summed everything up, because I walked every step with that group that day, and I was amazed by the way he managed his energy. And here's what you said: his calm, his composure, and his cadence about his walk is the thing that you said as he walked to the 18th tee. That was it. Like, it was chaos all around him, but yet here he was, as level as anything. What do you remember about that, and specifically why you crafted those words?
Tiger was the best at that. The old cliche, if you will, of when those around you are losing their heads, the ability to keep yours is what it's all about in tense situations. And no one has ever done it better than Tiger. Even Rory struggles with it, as we all know. Rory's a really tough guy to be a fan of, because he takes you on an emotional roller coaster every damn time he plays. It's so difficult, and that's why this year's Masters was so good. But anyway, Tiger, all of the other guys were struggling, and Tiger just kept doing what Tiger does and what Tiger did so well throughout his career. And he just maintained that beautiful balance. And yeah, I was just trying to describe what I see, what I feel. It's very hard at 17. You can't call the winner, even though you're expecting who is about to win. It was the same with John Rahm a couple of years later. I knew he was going to, and so did he, and I kind of gave it as good a call as I could without, saying there's your champion. But to pass it off to Jimmy, and at that time it was Nick, now it's Trevor, to pass it off to 18 in an enlightening way, in a calm way, here you go, guys, it's up to you now, call the finish. And that's what my role is at 17.
You mentioned Rory. What happened this year was exhausting for everybody. and Ian, his second to 17, similar. It wasn't obviously the same distance as the second on 15, but his appeal, the desperation in his voice to go, 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 and it gets that forward roll. What stands out for you about that interlude of your broadcast, your words, and that moment?
Trying to not say too much, allow the situation to present itself. It's a visual medium, so I try not to say the obvious, but sometimes, I remember saying, he's calling for it to go, because I could hear him saying it. Sometimes people at home may not hear that. I'm not sure of exactly what everyone's hearing. He's calling for it to go. It looks good. He's got to carry that front bunker. Boom. That was as good a shot as his shot at 15, I believe. That really was the shot that won him the tournament, although he still made it difficult by hitting it in the bunker going up 18. But still, that was such a difficult hole location. And to make birdie there was just exceptional. He was the same guy that hit the shot at 17 and 15 that also hit the shot at 13 that I called. And I almost fell out of my tower when he hit that shot. I couldn't believe he hit it right of the pin, let alone 10 yards right of the pin into the water. So that's Rory. That sums up Rory. He's unbeatable. He's rounded Amen corner. He's got through 12. He's played smart at 13, and now he duffs his wedge into the water. I couldn't believe it.
As you exit this TV stage, Scottie Scheffler's window is wide open. I know you're wildly impressed with so many aspects of what he does and who he is. What is the instrument in the toolkit to you that you admire or are most impressed with?
He doesn't hang his head on the fact that he's a major champion and the best player in the world. He is a great husband, a great father, a great son, a great teammate, a great golfer. But I think the husband, father, teammate side of things is more important to him than the golfer. And he's extremely competitive. Jordan and his other buddies that he plays with have said that he's as competitive as anybody out there. But at the same time, he's just a genuine person. I couldn't say anything more positive about Scottie Scheffler than I think he's as good as Tiger Woods without the flamboyance. He may not go on to achieve as much as what Tiger has because he may not want to play that long, because he doesn't really value that side of fame as much as he does home life and parenthood. But I think he's as good, and it's just a sensational role model.
This team you've been a part of, the people that everybody see, I don't need to mention their names, but, you know, whether it was Lance Barrow before Sellers Shine, Jim Rickoff and Steve Melton and all these guys, and you mentioned stage managers and these other people who are part of this pack, and you travel together and you have all your meals together and you go to the compound together in rental cars. What is the thing you love most about doing what it is that you did?
The energy, the camaraderie, the love, the friendship. You know, it's so hard to explain because, as I said on TV last weekend, and difficult circumstances for me saying goodbye, but at the same time, I'm so comfortable with my decision. I knew when the time was right, I'd feel it, and I do, and I feel grateful that I'm able to go out on top of my game. As a friend of the family, will always be a part of CBS. I think they'd like to sign me to a 10-year contract tomorrow. They'd love me to stay. But it's that relationship and that feel of family that's very, very strong within all of the networks that I've worked for. But the last 19 years with CBS, it's just exceptional. And everyone's the same. Jim Nantz is the GOAT. He is the Tiger Woods of television. He really is. He's the Jack Nicklaus, the Tiger Woods, the Scottie Scheffler of what he does. He is the GOAT. But he's just the same as the rest of us. Everyone's the same. Trevor does a wonderful job as the analyst. Frankie Nobilo, who sits beside me, is a deep-thinking, brilliant analyst. Dottie Pepper, number one on the ground. Colton Oast loves all of the team, all of the players out there. He's spectacular. Mark Immelman, wonderful coach, just knows the game better than any of us. Amanda with her interviews. So that's the announced team that we have. But we're all equal. No one's any more. We're all. It's a team. We're not in any fashion beholding to anyone else. And then whoever's in the trucks with us, Sellers, Steve Milton, Jimmy Rickoff, Sven. That whole team, Andy Friedman, it's just a whole bunch of people. We're all brothers and sisters. We all love each other. I know I've gone on a bit there, but that's how it is. That's how we are. And that's why CBS is so much better than the rest. No offense to any of my mates that work on the other networks. Our team is a team, and it shows, and we have each other's back.
It shows in the tone. There's a bond and a chemistry and a togetherness that is reflected in the tone that people hear when they listen. Last thing, this will be the hardest thing because I can't emphasize enough how much you love playing golf. And this, you have to confine this to 5. The 5 places in America you enjoy most. It may be for a zillion reasons, playing golf. Give me your top 5 golf experiences that you say, okay, I'm going there. It's the meal, it's the people, it's the clubhouse, it's the holes, it's all of it. Ian, only 5, not 50.
Only 5. Yeah, you're right. If we had a half hour, I could give you 50.
I know.
I love golf, and wherever I go, I try and play the best golf courses that I can. I was in Minneapolis last week. I went and played Somerset Country Club with my mate Scott Anderson and a couple of the boys from the Tower, Ricky and Tom. That was fantastic. But I love Old Sandwich up just south of Boston. Unbelievable Ben Crenshaw design. The California Club, or the Cal Club as it's known, out in the Bay Area.
I saw
along
your
with
picture.
San Francisco Golf Club.
Ian, I was there 2 weeks ago. The thing I love about that locker room, not only that it's been untouched, that the photos are from like college years, and like your photo is at least 30 years old, which I love that on your locker.
Yeah, it was. yeah, black hair and yeah, exactly. But that there are a couple of the areas that I love to go to. Up in Chicago, Shore Acres, Chicago Golf Club, Old Elm, just beautiful. Chicago's a sleeper. And then up to, you know, the Hamptons. So many fantastic courses up there. I won't go through and name them all, but there's about 10 courses in that area that I love to go play. There's so many fantastic areas in this country for golf. The one place I haven't been yet that Colton Oast was telling me he went last week is Bandon Dunes.
Oh.
I haven't been there yet, but I'm looking forward to maybe taking Jenny there or another couple or a few buddies and spending some time there. But there's so many great places, and you know what, the best thing, Gary? Winning the Open Championship was a special moment in my goal. And being known as the Open champion all my life has been something really special to me. But I think the ability for me to call up a club or a golf pro in an area where I'm there for TV and say, hey, it's Ian Baker-Finch here. I'm here this week with CBS. And, oh, yeah, come on over, bring your buddies. We'd love to have you. And I've always been welcomed at these places. And it's just been an exceptional experience for me everywhere I go in this great country and around the world. Being able to say, hey, it's Ian Baker-Finch here. And they know me, and I just feel so overwhelmed with the love and support from everybody that, you know, that's been my life. Let's go have a game of golf sometime and have some fun. My score these days is how much fun I have with the group I'm with. It doesn't really matter if I have 69 or 75. It's the fun, and I'll continue to do it. And I'm heading out to play at noon today with a few buddies, and I'll play each day before I get up to Sedgefield.
Well, our motto here is it's the time, not the score, which you embody. I'll leave you with this by just saying thanks. Thanks for loving the game. And have a great final week with your team that you love at the Wyndham Championship. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks very much, Gary. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. That is Ian Baker-Finch. His final broadcast on CBS this weekend at the Wyndham Championship. 30 years doing it. And of course, the champion golfer of the year, winning the Open Championship in 1991. We're back here on Five Clubs right after this. Welcome back in. It is a Wednesday edition of Five Clubs here on Golf Channel. You, of course, listen as well. That is Channel 92 on Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. This segment is brought to you by Peter Millar. Everything I've got on, including this little Bingham Performance travel coat, can be yours. The most practical item if you need something that is a sport coat, if you're on the road, or whether you're just at home. Speaking of somebody who might need some gear, when you sleep in your car overnight, I don't know, you might be a little gamey, as they like to say. Well, this guy did it last night, and I mentioned SiriusXM. He is the lead producer, senior producer for The Starter, the show that precedes us, hosted by, of course, Taylor Zarzour, a contributor here at Five Clubs. I'm speaking of Billy Dowling. If you don't know Billy, Billy doesn't like golf. He's obsessed with it. He produces multiple shows on SiriusXM, and there he sits at Bethpage Black. Good morning, my friend.
Hi, Gary. How are you? You know, it's amazing. I've wanted to be on your show forever, and they said the only way you can do it is if you sleep in a trunk, sweat to death for 6 hours, don't smell that great, and maybe he'll bring you on. So here I am from Bethpage after spending, let's say, 9 hours in a car yesterday.
I don't know if that was, I actually had some more demands, but we acquiesced, and here we sit. I want you to take people through what you experienced, because, Billy, this is not just because the Ryder Cup is coming up at Bethpage. This is life for people who want to get on one of the best golf courses in the world, okay? So take people through when you arrived yesterday and kind of what the experience was like. When did you get there, and how many people also slept in their cars last night hoping to get a tee time?
Yeah, you're right, Gary. This isn't just a Ryder Cup thing. Now, it's a little more on steroids because the Ryder Cup is here, but it happens all the time. Every time that the Black Course is open for play, which is most of the time all week except Mondays. It's never open on Mondays. People can sleep in their car and play here. So I got here with my friend Rob at about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And when we got in the lot, which is the back lot at Bethpage, all the lot spaces are numbered. We were in the 20th spot, and the guys that were in number 1 looked like they had been here for quite some time. They had 2 tents, 2 different grills, 2 different TVs. They were hanging out. Oh, they also had a Sprinter van that they were here with. So we had no chance of getting that spot. Spot 20 is where we were at 2 o'clock. We then got out of the car, took a little bit of walk just to stretch our legs. When we came back, there was about 6 more spots taken. And when I woke up this morning, well, let's see, when I went to sleep last night at 10 p.m.-ish, after our Yankees finally won a game, there was probably 45 or so cars in the parking lot. When I woke up this morning, close to 100.
Wow. So, Billy, how many of those people who made the effort to get a time, I don't know if you know exactly, roughly how many actually got a time?
So right now, because of the Ryder Cup coming, the golf course is going to close in a couple weeks.
Yep.
There are only walk-up times available from 8 to 12:30. Now, I didn't get an exact number on this, but of talk of people in the parking lot was 27 spots available to play this morning. And there was somebody, he was in spot 33, and he came up to our little area because he was counting the players in front of him. If there was a twosome, a single, a foursome, because he was in spot 33, and he wanted to know if he was going to get one of those lucky 27 spots. I believe he did. I saw him later this morning, and he looked quite happy. So 27 spots for, like I said, 100 cars or so here last night.
Give everybody a sense of what the atmosphere is like overnight. Like you said, you're trying to get a couple hours of sleep. You're listening to Yankee postgame. God love you for doing that. As far as like the cross section of people and the energy, and is it the kind of thing where you're chatting with each other, and is there an excitement level?
Oh, absolutely. The 2 cars next to us, one was a father and son. Didn't really see a lot of them. They kind of went to sleep early. One of the other cars next to us were 2 young guys from Illinois, which for 4 hours I kept saying they were from Wisconsin. And they eventually said, dude, we're from Illinois. Like, I'm wearing a Packers shirt, like he doesn't like the Packers, and he's wearing a negative Packers shirt. He goes, stop calling me from Wisconsin. So we hung out with them for a couple hours. They watched the Yankee game with us. They grilled with us. Like I said, plenty of people were out there grilling. And even when I looked across the parking lot, like somewhere around spot 52-ish, somebody was watching on a very big screen a replay of the 2019 PGA Championship. I think they thought that maybe they were going to have the same type of shots that Brooks Koepka had in that PGA. I didn't want to walk over and tell them that you're not playing the same exact golf course he is.
For anybody wondering if Billy makes mistakes like he did with this guy misidentifying where he's from, no, he does it every day when he does play-by-play on Thursdays and Fridays on the starter. That is his particular skill. I'm hearing construction going on, no surprise. Look, you're familiar with that place. Give everybody a sense of the kind of the grandiosity of the build-out of what you're seeing there and the stands and the structures that are being constructed for this monolith that'll be the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, so when your producer Tyler said we might have to get to a spot where there's not construction going on, I said, okay, do you want me to go like down the street
a different
to
county.
the coffee shop? Yeah, there's construction all over the place here. It's on all 3 golf courses. It's on 3 golf courses, the yellow, the red. Over my right shoulder, that is the big grandstand that is being built that is going to go from the 18th green and then wrap all the way around to the first tee for everybody to be here. So Friday morning of the Ryder Cup, when you see this massive grandstand of thousands of New Yorkers hopefully behaving themselves, I'm worried about it. It will be in that grandstand over my right shoulder. My left shoulder, that is where the first tee is, where the famous warning sign for Bethpage Black is on the first tee. You see people starting to gather around there before they tee off. And Gary, I went down and looked at that sign today, and they said highly skilled golfers. So I don't get it. You have to be a highly skilled golfer to play that golf course, but to play it, they make you sleep in the back of the Yukon, huddled up like a pretzel in a trunk. I don't get it. I don't get to hit balls. I don't get an instructor, no physio. Go sleep in the trunk and then tell me you're a skilled golfer. It's ridiculous.
Okay, last thing. Your host, one of your hosts, because you produce a couple of programs right here on Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio, have they set an over-under? What is your number today?
So I'm not going to play from the back tees, even though a buddy of mine wants to, because I think my buddy thinks that if he shoots 74, Keegan will put him on the Ryder Cup team over Chris Gotterup. I can't talk him out of that. So he's going to play the back. I'm going to play the middle tees at about 6,700 yards. The number, Gary, is 90. I got to break 90 today. I already know you're counting in. You're going to take the under. I fully believe you support me 100%.
90. I'm going to have to look at the DraftKings odds of what that looks like. I feel good about you. You're a gamer. You're a grinder. You're a piker. Thank you. I will tell people, follow you. I'm sure there'll be more vignettes. They're going to be posted on the social channels through PGA Tour Radio. My friend, have a glorious day. You've earned it.
Thank you, Gary. If I ever come back here, you have to come with me. We got room in the Yukon for you.
Okay, I'm sorry we're losing the connection. That, of course, Billy Dowling, the senior producer on SiriusXM's PGA Tour Radio, slept in the car overnight. He's got the time, 10:10. The over-under is 90. We do not have that as one of our picks, which will be coming up next, as well as dogs. We continue here this Wednesday edition of Five Clubs right after this. Welcome back in. It is time for our favorite segment of the week, Dogs of the Week. And this segment brought to you by Golf Pride. They are located in Pinehurst. They've got a design studio right there if you want to go in and buy some retail. I'm thinking of that because Pinehurst as well. They've got the U.S. Kids there right now. When it comes to Golf Pride, when it comes to grips, they have more to offer with better materials. That's why they are trusted by more players at every level all around the world. The dogs, we want your dog. If it's got a relationship and a connection to the game of golf, send it in. Dogs at fiveclubsgolf.com. We are going to do it. We got so many dogs already lined up right up until the Christmas break. We want all of them. We will get them all in here through the course of 2025. So let's get to our featured dogs of the week. And we start, that is Dormy. Great name. That is Adam Chestnut's dog. Adam is the head golf professional at Parkersburg Country Club in Vienna, West Virginia. Dormy is a mini Bernie Doodle. That is Hogan Prestwick, Phyllis Clatter's dog, also a Bernedoodle, named after Ben Hogan and Phyllis's favorite golf course in Scotland. Prestwick, pictured there at Crystal Mountain Resort in Thompsonville, Michigan. He also goes to PGA West in the wintertime. How about that adorable dog? That's Brody. That is John McClendon's dog. John is the golf course superintendent at the Ladies Golf Club of Toronto. Brody is a 2-year-old golden retriever border collie mix. That is Norman, an 8-year-old Australian shepherd dog that loves to work on the course. His owner is Craig Spicer, the golf course superintendent at the Legends Golf and Country Club in Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. And that is Michael Evans' dog. Michael is an Army veteran, also a member of the Veterans Golf Association and a PGA Hope recipient. That is Vara, his service dog, who has been on more golf courses than most humans. That means Vara has had a better life than most humans as well. A great collection of dogs for our dogs of the week. And again, send your dog in. It is dogs at fiveclubsgolf.com. We did not intend at the beginning of this year for our dog segment to transition into our pick segment, which could also be a dog segment, because we're not good at this. And as evidenced by the fact that we have not picked a winner, any of us, since the end of May at the Memorial, beginning of June. Taylor remains the leader out in front with Johnson pretty close behind, Emma Gill, myself, Jay. Brendan DeYoung is crafting one of the most despicable seasons of picking winners. Last week, he picked Tony Finau. Tony was 4 over before he left the first tee on Thursday at the 3M. Unreal. We picked 2 events this week because we got the final women's major of the year. So let's start there with the AIG Women's Open. I am picking the hot hand, Lottie Wood. Gil Hans goes with Minjee Lee. Emma with Lottie. Taylor says Nelly is going to finish the year by winning that major. So does Brendan DeYoung. That doesn't bode well for Nelly. And Jay Billis takes Gino Tittacool. Johnson also with Lottie Wood. That means the idiot trifecta in play for this group of idiots. Meanwhile, at the Wyndham Championship up the road in Greensboro at Sedgefield Country Club, Nikolai Højgaard is my pick. That is also Taylor's selection. Gil Hance, William Mau's a good story. The kid from Pepperdine who won a couple of weeks ago. And then Emma goes with Robert McIntyre, pardon me. Jay with Keegan Bradley. Johnson with the guy Keith Mitchell, who needs to play well enough, play the weekend. And I am sorry to Matt Fitzpatrick and his family and his fiancée and anybody who's ever known Matt, because Brendan has hitched his wagon to a guy who's got great form. But his form is probably going to go in the wrong direction immediately because Brendan Young has picked him. This week, with all the various scenarios at the Wyndham Championship, again, they're going to do a great job starting tomorrow of covering everybody's scenarios and what's going to happen based on a made putt or a missed putt, which is a glorious thing. The final event of the regular season, and again, for the women, that final major at Royal Porthcawl. And last Wednesday, I was headed out to Chicago, and I spoke about it on Monday. And this is from Chicago Golf Club, and their logo is Far and Sure. There is something that I am very sure of, that golf in the greater Chicagoland area is very hard to beat. If you're out there, enjoy all the golf wherever you are. We'll see you Monday here on 5 Clubs.